Hey guys, welcome to the Daily Word Bible study of plain and simple, book by book, chapter by chapter, and verse by verse study through the entire Bible. Currently, we are in Psalm 65. We're going to get right to it. And again, just let me say, remember these are songs. Try to picture singing them. I will not sing because I cannot sing, but picture in your mind. Uh, these are actual, again, songs, okay? In some cases, it could be to music, okay? To music instruments. They're going to be listed here. Okay, here we go. Psalm 65. It says, praise is rightfully yours, God, in Zion. Vow, vows to you will be fulfilled. By the way, the law actually says, let me just say something quickly about vows. So if you make a vow under the law, you had to do it. Making vows was strictly your choice. So you didn't have to make a vow. But if you made one, you were obligated to it. One of the most tragic cases we see in the Old Testament is when a guy in the book of Judges was asking God for victory. And then he's like, God, if you give me victory, I will offer the first thing that comes out and greet us. Well, his only daughter came out. And so the thing is, God would have given him victory without making that plea. So um, best not to make vows that you don't want to keep. Verse 2, all humanity will come to you, the one who hears prayers. Iniquity overwhelms me. Only you can atone for our rebellions. Happy is the one you choose and bring near to live in your courts. We will be satisfied with your goodness of your house and the holiness of your temple. Now, verse 4, happy is the one you choose. Now, uh, if I'm a Calvinist, I think I may love this verse. But he says, happy is the one who chooses you. Now, of course, the question is, on what basis will God choose? In other words, does God say, well, you can come, but you certainly cannot come? No, it doesn't. But anyway, there is a prescribed. And of course, throughout even the Psalms, the humble heart always gets God's attention. Okay. Uh, verse 5, you answer us in righteousness with awe-inspiring works, God of our salvation, and the hope of all the ends of the earth and of the distant seas. You established the mountains by your power, roped with strength. You silenced the war of the seas, the war of the waves, and of the tumult of the nations. Those who live far are awed by your signs. You make east and west shouts for joy. Visit the earth and water it in abundantly, enriching it greatly. God's stream is filled with water, but you prepare the earth in this way, providing people with grain. You soften it with showers and bless its growth, soaking its furrows and leveling its ridges. You crown the year with your goodness. Your ways overflow with plenty. The wilderness pastures overflow, and the hills are robed with joy. The pastures are clothed with flocks, and the valleys covered with grain. They shout in triumph. Indeed, they sing. All right, let's go to Psalm 66. Okay, as you all been noticing, I've been looking at let's see here, Psalm 66. Here we go. My computer's been running slow, so that's why sometimes you may see me struggling here to get it going. Okay, shout joyfully to, this is Psalm 66 verse 1. Shout joyfully to God, all the earth. Sing about his glory of his name. Make his praise glorious. Say to God, how awe-inspiring are your works. Your enemies will cringe before you because of your great strength. All the earth will worship you and sing praise to you. They will sing praise to your name, Selah. Now, obviously, this is something that will come, not today. Not everybody's praising God today. The earth, and again, is becoming more sinful. Verse 5, come and see the wonders of God. His acts for humanity are awe-inspiring. He turns the sea into dry land, and they cross the river on foot. But verse 5 again, listen to this. Come and see the wonders of God. His acts for humanity are awe-inspiring. He turns the sea into dry land. So this is referring to, of course, Israel crossing the Red Sea. And notice he said they crossed the river on foot. The reason why I paused here, there are people who try to say that the Exodus was they were crossing the river in a low tide, okay? But even if that was true, it's the ground. Like, for example, let's say you look at any kind of flooded land. Let's say even if it's 6 inches, 4 inches, imagine about anywhere from 1 million to 2 million people crossing on a soaked, mud-filled land. The reason why I say that is because he says here, he turned the sea into dry land, and they crossed the river on foot. It was on dry land. So it says there we rejoiced in him. Now this seemed to be a psalm around Moses' time. Okay, verse 7. He rules forever by his might. He keeps his eye on the nations. The rebellious should not exalt themselves. Selah. Praise our God, you peoples. Like the sound of his praise be heard. He keeps us alive. He does not allow our feet to slip. For God, you test us. You refined us as silver is refined. You lure us into a trap. You place burdens on our backs. You let men ride over our heads. We went through fire and water, but you brought us back. You brought us out to abundance. Now, I think we should also remember that they came out because of sin, their sin. I will enter your house with burnt offerings. I will pay you my vows that my lips promise, and my mouth spoke during my distress. And this is what happens too, right? God, if you just get me out of this, right? We make sometimes these foolish problems, not according to the law, but sometimes say to God, if you just get me out of this, I will go to church every Sunday. If you just get me out of this, I'll stop cursing, knowing in your heart you really don't mean it. But you mean it at the time, in the sense to say, God, get me out of this. Anyway, I will offer you fattened sheep as burnt offerings, and with the fragrant smoke of the rams, I will sacrifice ox with goats, Selah. Come and listen, all who fear God, and I will tell what he has done for me. I cried out to him with my mouth, and praise was on my tongue. If I had been aware of malice in my heart, the Lord would not have listened. However, God has listened, and he has paid attention to the sound of my prayer. May God be praised. May he has not turned away my prayer or turned his faithful love to me. I want to go back and look at verse 18. If I had been aware of malice in my heart, the Lord would not have listened. That's kind of interesting there, in that what he's talking about is you approaching God with sin in your heart. Okay? In other words, if you were to approach God, notice he said, if I was aware of malice. Now, the question is, do you think God is going to listen to you? In other words, do you think God is going to listen to you with malice in your heart? God. Now, by the way, people do this all the time. Not necessarily malice, but almost any sin. And especially sins we don't think are sins. How about this? Picture this. You're in church in a worship service, and you're worshiping, you're singing all of those nice melodies, worship, and then somebody next to you, their baby starts to scream and cry. What do you think in your heart? You look at them, you glance at them, glare at them, right? Now, God would rather you, instead of, this baby is interrupting my flow of worship. No, God would rather you, hey, sister, let me hold this baby while you worship it along. See, okay. um, let's go to Psalm 67 as my computer. I'm going to start reading when my computer catches up. My God, be gracious to us and bless us. Look on us with favor, Selah, so that your way may be known on the earth, your salvation among all the nations. Let the people praise you, God. Let all the people praise you. Let all the nations rejoice and shout for joy, for you judge the people with fairness and lead the nations on the earth, Selah. I want you to pay attention to this one here. You judge the peoples with fairness. Think about that. Sometimes we think God is unfair. Okay, we think God is unfair. And one of the things about the judgment of God is, I'm writing this down for something else, but one of the things about the judgment of God is we don't always have all of the facts. We don't have all of the facts. And but notice, here's what God has declared to us, that He has judged the earth with fairness. And He said, let the people praise you, God. Let all the people praise you. The earth has produced its harvest. God, our God, blesses us. God will bless us. All of the ends of the earth will fear Him. Now, I'm still reading from my iPad because my computer is froze up here. Okay, so it's taking this time. So I'm going to go to Psalm 68. Psalm 68. God, arise and scatter his enemies. Okay, God, arise and scatter his enemies. Oh, his enemies. I'm sorry. God, arise, his enemies scatter. And those who hate him flee from his presence. As smoke is blown away, so you blow them away. As wax melt before their fire, so the wicked are destroyed before God, but the righteous are glad. They rejoice before God and celebrate with joy. Sing to God, sing praises to his name. Exalt him who rides on the clouds. His name is Yahweh, and rejoice before him. God is holy. God in his holy dwelling is father of the fatherless and a champion for the widows. Now it's kind of interesting that he says this here. I'm gonna try to get this in. What is interesting about this? You would note. I'm saying this while we look at certain things. Let me come out of here, guys, because all right, I'm gonna kind of try to go back into this, but I'm reading again from Psalm 68. All right, but what amazes me sometimes when I look at the news is how people are callous. Like, for example, we have a crisis in our country. You look at some of the major cities and what they call tent cities. Okay? But you see, even now, the fatherless, and by the way, why there was fatherless people today is not the same. A lot of them were probably because of widows, because they lost their husband in whatever way. They lost their husbands, and that's the children. For example, if they went out to war, they would lose their children. They would lose their husbands and fathers in war. That's, they became fatherless. Today we see fatherless because of sinfulness, though, in other words, as a result of sin, in various ways. Mostly women are just, you know, having sex and then getting pregnant. the same conditions exist that you could lose your father through, um, for the reason of some kind of hardship. Okay, but my point to this is God in His dwelling is He is His heart is towards the fatherless, and notice, and a champion for the widows. So again, I look at people sometimes and I think that they're not. Okay, they're not a champion for the widows. Okay, all right. Let's continue on. And again, I'm reading from Psalm 68, verse 6. God provides homes for the widows who are deserted. He leads out the prisoners to prosperity, but the rebellious live in scorched land. God, when you went out before your people, when you marched through the desert, Selah, the earth trembled and the skies poured down rain before God, before Sinai, before God, the God of Israel. Now again, this psalm again seemed to be around the time of Moses. Okay, uh, you show, you God showered abundant rain. You revived your inheritance when it languished. Your people settled in it. God, you provided for the poor by your goodness. The Lord gave the command, a great command. Of women brought the good news. The kings of the armies flee, they flee. She who stayed at home divides the spoil, while you lie among the sheepfolds. The wing of a dove are covered with silver, and with the feathers with the glistening gold. When the Almighty scattered the kings of the land, it snowed on Zalman. Okay. My computer froze it, guys, again, so that's why I am reading with this here. Okay. All right. Mount Bashan is God's towering mountain. Mount Bashan is a mountain of many peaks. Why gaze with envy, you mountain peaks, at the mountain God desired for His dwelling? The Lord will live there forever. God's chariots are tens of thousands, thousands of thousands. The Lord is among them in the sanctuary, as He was at Sinai. Now these chariots, kind of if God was to show us that, you would see these tens of thousands of thousands of thousands of angels. Okay. Then He says, as you ascend to the heights, taking away captives, you receive gifts from men, even from the rebellious, so that the Lord might live here. I'm going to come back to this in a moment. Let me finish it out. May the Lord be praised day after day. He bears our burdens. God is our salvation, Selah. God, our God, is a God of salvation, and escape from the death belong to the Lord God. Surely God crushes the heads of His enemies, the hairy head of one who goes on his guilty acts. The Lord said, I will bring them back from Bashan. I will bring them back from the depths of the sea, so that your foot may wade in blood, and your dogs' tongues may have their share from the enemies. People have seen your possession, God, and the possession of my God, my King. In the sanctuary, singers lead away, with musicians following. Among them are your young women playing tamarines. Now, I want to say this, these musical instruments here, that there's a denomination that says, oh, God doesn't want us to have musical instruments. All right, but we see musical instruments constantly. Praise our God in the assemblies. Praise the Lord from the fountains of Israel. There Benjamin, the youngest, leading them, the rulers of Judah in their assembly, the rulers of Zebulun, the rulers of Nephtali. Your God has decreed your strength. Show your strength, God, you who have acted on your behalf, because of your temple and Jerusalem, because of your temple at Jerusalem. Kind of interesting here, the way this is worded here. So if He said the temple at Jerusalem, I'm thinking about a timeline here. So maybe not be at the time during the time of Moses, but during the time of David or Solomon, okay? Because during David, the temple wasn't built. All right, verse 30. Rebuke the best in the needs, the herds of the bulls with the calves of the peoples, trample underfoot with bars of silver, scatter the people who take pleasure in war. Ambassadors will come from Egypt, Cush, and will stretch out its hands to God. Sing to God, your kingdoms of the earth. Sing praises to the Lord Selah, to him who rides in the ancient of high on the highest heavens. Look, he thunders with a powerful voice. Ascribe power to God. His majesty is over Israel, his power among the clouds. God, you are awe-inspiring. In your sanctuaries, the God of Israel gives power and strength to his people. May God be praised. Before I close out, I want to go back to verse 18. It says, you ascend to the heights, taking away captives. You receive gifts from men, even from the rebellious, so that the Lord God may live there. And the reason why I want to focus is this is quoted in Ephesians chapter 4, where it says, you ascend to the heights and take captives, you receive gifts from men. And then it goes on to say that not only do you receive gifts from men, but then he gives gifts. He gave some apostles, prophets, pastors, teachers, and evangelists. But again, Paul was quoting from, again, this psalm right here. All right, guys. Again, I'm having some programming issues here. That's why the scriptures are not up on screen. But don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to BP, the Bible Perspective. And as always, if you have a thought or comment, add it to the comments section below. All comments are welcome. Please like and share this video. I'll see you in the next study.